This is day 33. A skunk and two kits. The fog had started before dawn, the kind that hangs in the air like a big question. The pavement was dark glass when I laced up my shoes and stepped outside. Too early for traffic, too early for excuses not to run. 2 blocks from home, I saw them, a skunk and two kits, two small little kits standing at the curb. The mother was stiff with attention, the babies unsure of the curb's gravity. She stepped forward and then back, and it was plain she was doing math while with her instincts. A car was starting to come up the hill, headlights dim through the mist. One of the kits hesitated, half on the asphalt, half off, as if the curb were a border between two countries, home and consequence. I stopped, heart thumping, while the mother pushed them forward with confidence only necessity grants. She kept glancing between the car and her hesitant child, repositioning, making herself larger, ushering with short, decisive movements. The second kit scampered across really fast. The first one froze and trembled. The car slowed and paused just enough to give the mother the margin that she needed. She nudged, and the kit finally committed, a stuttering little sprint, a wobble, and then they were all in the wet grass on the other side. The mother still looking back as if she couldn't quite believe that she'd made it across. I ran on, and the image refused to leave. You could see the conflict in her body. Protect, push, wait, decide. The choice wasn't between love and standards, I realized. It was about the timing of pressure and the cost of delay. That kid could not live permanently at the curb, and the car simply would not wait forever. At 9 in the morning, I had an inevitable call right before the scheduled release this week. We were going to miss our deadline again. I think every founder has this call tattooed somewhere right between their eyes. The explanations were all familiar, a dependency that we didn't foresee, an edge case that wasn't so edge, a rough integration that refused to smooth out under the iron. I felt the old reflex rise in me, which is to teach, help, coach. Part of my job is translating chaos into growth, especially for people with strong will and green scales. But under the surface, something else stirred, the memory of the skunk, the car, the kit with one paw in danger and one paw in denial. This morning I was at the office. The fog had lightened to a dull gray. When I walked into our floor, I noticed one chair that's been sitting here for a while with a rip in the seat. A long crescent exposed the metal beneath. It was off to the side near the window, almost like it had exiled itself. No one will ever use this chair again, not really. It sinks in when you sit. I caught myself thinking I could get it repaired. I could call a shop, expense it, add one more small errand to the list of many errands that I have all day long. But what I needed was a chair that works, not a half fixed relic. I just needed a chair. The chair irritated me more than it should have, probably because I knew the truth beneath the irritation. When something can't meet the standard required by the work, the kindest thing is just to tell the truth quickly. Not because people are disposable, because pretending helps no one. I can mark this day on a calendar. We missed the release again. And instead of quietly rolling the deadline again, instead of praising grit while avoiding accountability, I sat down and wrote out the conversations that I've avoided. I listed the names, not in anger, though admittedly I felt some, but in respect for the team members that are carrying twice their load so that mediocrity has a place to sit. I talk a lot about patience here, about how growth takes root slowly and how a person's slope matters more than their intercept. That remains true. I have a soft spot for high will, low skill people who show up early and stay long, who ask questions, who tug at the problem until it moves. I was one of them once. Back when my code had more comments justifying my choices than choices worth justifying. Mentors didn't fire me, they taught me. They set clear bars, gave me practice reps that matched my current size, then steadily raised the bar. They told me where I stood without any romance. But there's another truth I forget when I'm tired. Every day we avoid naming the gap. We make the gap normal. The rest of the team sees it too. The quiet message is the loudest one in the room. One person pours their whole soul into the system and ships work that sings. Another stays busy but never quite finishes, never quite accepts feedback except in theory. If I let both stand unaddressed, I'm the one writing the standard. Effort equals outcome. That's not kindness, that's an insult to the people who are delivering. At lunch, I kept thinking about the mother skunk. She couldn't carry the kid across. She could block traffic for a moment, as she did. She could position herself to give the kid a shot, but at some point, that kid just had to move. There's a pressure that's loving, the nudge that says it's time to go. Now, I'm with you, but your legs have to do the work. And there's a pressure that's cheap, the kind that inflates someone beyond their present strength, promoting them to ease my conscience or to fill a gap. I've done both of those. One grows people, the other teaches the worst lesson of them all, that proximity to urgency counts as progress. I went back and reviewed the last 6 weeks for this team. We have slipped 3 times on a feature that should have taken 10 days. We've added a daily stand up, then another weekly checkpoint. I gave more attention, more advice, more metaphors than anyone could have asked for. Curiously, the more attention I give, the less ownership I see. When I'm honest, I see my fingerprints on the drift. I padded the room so no one would get hurt, but all the padding did was keep people from feeling the edges that actually teach. A few years back ago, late in the day, I sat with an engineer whose performance had seesawed for months. He was a kind person, which always makes the judgment harder. We talked for almost an hour. I asked what would help him win. He named the usual suspects: clearer specs, more pairing, few parallel tasks. Then he said the thing I wasn't expecting. He knew he wasn't keeping up with the pace the team needed. He'd known for weeks. My stomach dropped. He hadn't been waiting for a lifeline. He'd been waiting for me to say what was already true. I put the chair in the middle of the room today to remind me. It looks absurd there, torn vinyl grinning at me, edges unraveled like a confession, but I needed the interruption. That chair has become my apology for decision I was avoiding. I've been circling around it for weeks, pretending time would stitch the rip closed on its own. It hasn't. It won't. So I set it there where I can't ignore it. A small, honest signal that the repair I owed wasn't upholstery, it was a choice. The rest of this day was arranged by the nudge and the consequence. Not a surprise firing, not a public shaming, not heroics, just clear standards. Weekly check on one metric that matters. Few simultaneous responsibilities. A date on the calendar where we decide if the gap is closed enough to be fair to the underperformers and fair to the team as a whole. Not 1,000 goals, just one. Ship the feature you own by a specific time, with tests that pass and a plan for rollback. If people are not able to hit the bar, then help them land somewhere that fits. Both outcomes are honest, both are a kind of respect. This all sounds a little harsh and stern when I read it back to myself. It doesn't feel too stern though. It feels like drawing a line that no one wanders into traffic. I fooled myself into thinking empathy means I protect people from discomfort. But discomfort is not the enemy, it is the teacher. Prolonged vagueness is the enemy. It's what keeps people standing at the curb, 1 foot in and 1 foot out, while the world keeps on moving. Here's the small actionable thing I'm doing tonight. I'm writing down the one standard that matters most to each person on my team. 1 sentence each. Not a to-do list, not a vague aspiration. A clear expectation that they can either meet or miss. Tomorrow morning, I'll share it with each one of them and ask them to rewrite it in their own words, potentially. If we can't agree on the sentence, then that's a conversation that we need to have. If we can, then we have shared a curb to step off together. Before I lock up here and go home, I'm glancing around the room, and there's the ripped chair. It's waiting by the door, ungainly, Silent, honest. I don't hate it. It did its time. It served. It just can't carry the weight we need anymore. Maybe I'll haul it to the trash on my way out. Then I'll go home, set my running shoes by the door, and try to sleep knowing that tomorrow I will ask a few people to take a step. It won't be dramatic, it will be specific, which is the next kind of kindness I owe. How long do we let someone hover at the curb before we admit that the safest place is, in fact, across?